Hey guys, what's up? So, I wanted to tell y'all the real reason. By the way, I can't get rid of the noise and the screaming and the running back and forth. Okay, there's 6 kids in this house. Anyway, I wanted to tell y'all the real reason why I left South Carolina. I have got approval from my husband as to you know telling this story and what actually happened. So, there's a lot of parts that go into this. Um, Number one, remember I had made a vlog. Yes, I'm laying in bed. Hush. I had made a vlog that I was gonna renovate the house, and what happened with that is we got all the stuff, we got the supplies, we started getting the wood. We started by renovate the house. The main problem in South Carolina was the fact that it had no hot water in the house. The water ran. There was nothing wrong with the water. There was, nothing wrong with the pipes. Um, the only problem was the sewer had not been fixed. So the septic, sorry, had not been fixed. There was no sewer line. So in the part of South Carolina that I lived, the town chose to have septic. So a lot of the houses didn't have proper septic tanks. So they were overflowed, and that causes leaks and stuff in your house, and old pipes and things like that. So even though there was nothing wrong with the flow of the pipes were old. So they were leaking. The septic was not properly fitted to the house. So that was another problem. Hold on 1 second. Okay. We got that situated. Yeah, the septic wasn't properly fitted to the house. So it would overflow. It would overflow, especially, thank you, especially in the winter and in the summer. So, when you're taking more showers, you're taking, longer times in the kitchen, stuff like that. Thank you. Um, so that's the real reason why we left, because the house was not able to be washed in or taken care of. So we ended up leaving. But my father-in-law did not want to fix it. Like I said, we bought the pipes. Well, he bought the pipes to go into the house to run new pipelines. We tried to price a new septic, to put a new septic down. He didn't want anybody to buy it. He didn't want anybody to pay for it. He didn't want anybody to fix it. We also tried getting a new hot water heater because he turned the hot water heater off and broke it off. Um, he broke the knobs to the hot water heater so that nobody could turn the hot water heater on, because he said when you turned on the hot water heater, being that the pipes were leaking, that made the bill higher, the water bill. It made it a lot higher. So he broke the knobs off so you couldn't turn it on. So we tried to buy a new hot water heater. He did not want to put in the new hot water heater. He did not want you to buy a proper water heater. If he wanted a different water heater, he didn't want to, he didn't want to allow you to buy one. So, yeah. On top of this, my kids were having problems in the school. For some reason, the school was just picking on my kids because um my kids are, they're a little spoiled, they're a little rotten, I ain't gonna lie. Kids are kids, and they came from a different dynamic. They came from a more prestigious school where they had, one-on-one with their teacher. They had more connections with their teachers. Their teachers took a little bit more time. And when you come from a school system that takes a little bit more time with each student, instead of treating a classroom like it's a regular child care service, if that makes sense. I hand you a packet, you do the work, you figure it out. I show you on the board, I hand you the work, you do it. There's no, oh, don't ask me questions, don't get up out of your seat to ask me a question. You just do what I say, and you sit here for 8 hours and you go home. So they wasn't used to that, but they were trying, you know. And one of the teachers were allowing the other students to pick on my kids, to talk about my kids. Like, I have an autistic son. He got diagnosed with ADHD, and he has a learning disability because of his ADHD. So he's in the third grade, which he should be in the fifth grade, but they picked on that, and they allowed kids to pick on that. Also, my daughter, like I said, she is a little emotional. She needs emotional connections with her teacher. She needs someone to take out the time to tell her, hey, it's okay that you don't get a problem. Come to me and talk to me instead of getting upset and getting frustrated. They didn't do that in the school. So she in turn got picked on as well because she got labeled as the crybaby. Okay, so the teacher allowed people to call her ugly, allowed people to call her a crybaby, allowed people to laugh at her while she cried in class. They called me numerous times because, well, if someone's picking on you, what you're gonna do? You're gonna cry more. So they called me because she was crying more, and they asked me if I could pick her up from the school because she was being disruptive, and that's causing them not to be able to work like that because she was being so disruptive. Instead of adjusting to the fact that she's a very sensitive child and she doesn't need people picking on her because she's sensitive, instead adjusting her learning style like teachers supposed to. Um so anyway, while that was going on, they instead of turning to the teacher on why this teacher was allowing kids to bully her, literally is what the students of the school was saying, instead of turning to the teacher, they in turn turned to me. And so that causes what? CBS cases. So now I have to deal with the fact that my father-in-law didn't want to fix the house. He didn't want anything done to the house, and we're literally figuring out ways to take hot showers, hot baths, um, stay clean, keep the house clean. Um, Hold on one second, y'all. All right, back to what I was saying. So yeah, I'm talking about, like, we had to take a teapot. I'm being like really honest right now. Um, Not just for YouTube, but for the family members that were like wondering what was the real reason why, we disappeared and we left South Carolina. Well, this was the real reason. Like, we would have to take a teapot, heat up the teapot just to wash the dishes. And y'all know how small a teapot is. And when you have like six people in a household, well, it would have been seven people in a household. That's a lot of dishes. So we would have to take the teapot, pour the hot water in the sink, wash the dishes, then put the teapot back on the stove so we could heat up some more water while we wash these little bit of dishes, and then wait for that teapot to get hot to wash the rest of the dishes. And then you would have to also take that same teapot, heat up that teapot. Sometimes we would take two pots and add that to it. But like I said, it's 7 people in the house. There is 3 adults and there was 5 children in the house. So everybody is trying to use these pots and teapots to wash dishes, to mop the floor, just keep the house clean. That was a lot. And then I have this now CPS worker. Thank God for her though. I like feel like she had a feeling there was something wrong, but it wasn't really nothing wrong because like I said, the lights were on, the water was on, um, there was food in the refrigerator. It's just my father-in-law felt that there was nothing wrong with living like this. There was nothing wrong with, heating up water to take a bath. There was nothing wrong with taking bird baths literally every single day. Do not snort in my butt. There was nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I am talking about it as real as I can be because this used to be like, what are y'all so running from? Like, what's going on? Like, why are y'all running? Y'all should just stay here, because my husband's father, he owns the house. So the house is paid off, the land is paid off. So everybody was confused because we have no rent, you know, um, so they're like, what's the big problem? That was the big problem. And literally the CPS worker walked in the house and he's like looking at her like, there's nothing wrong. And we're just like, we're praying that we get through it because we have no other family members for my kids. All of our family members that were down there, all the aunts and uncles and stuff, they're older, so they can't really take on, 5 children. So I'm talking 5 young children at that. So they're like, oblivious to the fact that we are dealing with a scary situation here because if someone goes in the bathroom and turns on the hot water and realizes that it doesn't come on at all, they're gonna wonder what's wrong. And you can't live in those type of conditions. Meanwhile, we had a family member, I'm not gonna say her name, that went through the same thing. She had a problem with the plumbing, and like one of the baby father's family members told what that problem was, and her baby got taken, but luckily her mother was young enough to take the baby. We don't have that. Me and my husband don't have that. Like my mother-in-law, she lived in Georgia, we was in South Carolina, and she can't take on 5 kids. Like she just couldn't. So we didn't have that. So we had to literally make it seem like there was nothing wrong with this situation. That was hard. Um, but we did it and it got so bad to the point where the school called again, she said, but they dismissed it because they had just been out there. And she found everything unfounded Thank God, because like I said, I turned on the water. She saw the food in the refrigerator. She checked the lights. Um, Everything was on. Like I said, it just wouldn't be fixed. And it's so sad that something as petty as, being able to fix something let someone split us apart, but that's here nor there. Anyways, so yeah, after that, the school became so upset that they wouldn't allow my daughter, to go back to school because they were like, if she goes back to class, then the kids will continue to pick on her, then she will continue to be disruptive. I mean, I have in one of my lives where the principal actually kidnapped my daughter. Like, she literally kidnapped my daughter and would not allow her to get on the bus simply because she felt like she shouldn't get on the bus. What it really was is she was upset because I chose not to pick up my daughter for the simple fact of her crying and being upset. She was not throwing things. She was not you know, being erratic or spitting on someone or hitting someone. She was just crying really, really loudly. And I didn't feel like that was a point for her to be picked up. There was supposed to be services in the school where you have counselors. There was no counselors in the school. There was supposed to be, special education teachers. They somewhat can get to children with emotional problems. They didn't have any of this in the school. So I was like, no, I'm not going to disrupt my day and the business that I had to take care of. Mind you, I was, I think, 3 or 4 months pregnant, so I'm going to doctor's offices. I also had, um, you know, other services I had to get done with my son, counseling sessions, booking appointments, all kind of stuff. So yeah, I had to do a lot. And I didn't feel like I should disrupt my day just because someone wanted me to come pick up my daughter because she's crying. So she decided to kidnap her after school and not tell me that she didn't call me and tell me that she didn't allow her to get on the bus. So I was worried because I see my two other children come off the bus and they're like, well, she didn't get on the bus. What? She didn't get on the bus. So I run up to the school because she said, yeah, I didn't allow her to get on the bus simply because I felt like she shouldn't get on the bus. So she wouldn't allow her to go to school after that. She was like, I don't think she should come to school for the next couple of days because she might be disruptive or she might get upset in class. And I just feel like she should be suspended. Okay. So if you suspend a child, you're supposed to put it in the system so that the truancy officer know that you did a behavioral consequence against this child. She was not putting them in the system because you can't suspend someone for emotional distress. So what happened? That became unexcused absences. What happens with unexcused absences? More than three, they call out a social worker. Here we go again. I've spoke to the truancy officer. I spoke to the superintendent because after this incident of her kidnapping my child after school, I spoke to the superintendent. The superintendent informed me that I had the option of choosing a different school for my child to go to, and they were going to pen an investigation against the principal for her actions. Well, no other school wanted to take my child because it is the end of the year and they are overbooked because a lot of people were having the same problem with this school. So, what happens? The truancy officer's like, well, if you can't get her in another school and we can't figure out what happened with these unexcused absences because she wasn't answering the phone, she was on holiday break, um, we're going to have to send a social worker out, whether I like it or not. I was like, you know what? I'm just done. I just had a social worker. I just got out of a case. Like, literally, it was like a day or two before this happened. I am not trying to go through this again. My father in law won't do anything about, the water situation. And I do not have the resources to keep up this charade. So I left. We all packed up. We all left. And on top of it, to put the cherry on the cake, okay, on the icing or whatever you want to say, my van gets towed. My van gets towed all after like having this conversation with the truancy officer, and the truancy officer telling us, if you don't find her a school, um, even if I allow these other absences to go by, she has to be in school. She hasn't been in school. And they were not allowing her to go to school. Like, literally, I took her to the school and they called me to pick her up. And they said if I didn't pick her up, that they would have to call a social worker because they did not want her at the school. So, after all of this conversation, my van gets towed. My husband goes outside. He's like, who is this in the driveway with another car on the tow truck? And the guy goes, and I simply forgot, um, because I had enough money to pay it off. I simply forgot I had got a loan way back when. Like, it was like, I think a year ago before this happened. And I had simply forgot. I really did. It was like $400. It wasn't that much. And I had just got the taxes. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you apparently got a loan. And I was like, oh shit, I did get a loan to fix the fucking radiator because my husband hit a deer. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, yeah, there's nothing I could do. I have to take the car in. That was it. We was like, okay, we're done. We're finished. It's over. Let's just pack up everything and we're leaving. We did not care if we went to where we're at now, or if we went to Nevada, if we went to California. We just knew we had to get the fuck from out of there, okay? Because it was just one thing after another. Not to mention that also in between all of this of us having to heat up water, us having to fight with him. I mean, my husband went and drilled a hole in the back of the house in the laundry room because he told him that there was a pipe in the laundry room that had to be ripped up and redid with Plex pipe, and he drilled a whole hole in the back to find no pipe. No, I'm not. To find no pipe. And he was like, what is going on? Like, you told me to drill this hole. I mean, he was working day in and day out. He's going to work. And on top of that, he's getting off on the weekends, working on this. It's supposed to be this pipe, but it's a hole. Digging this hole to get to this pipe that's not even there. Now, what kind of narcissistic bullshit is that? And then when he told him that there was no pipe there, he's like, Dad, there's no pipe there. He literally looked at him and told him, Oh, I didn't know. I thought the old man told me it was there. By old man, he means his great granddad told him that it was there. After all his brothers, his older brothers, told him that there was no pipe there. There's never been any pipe there. So you had me thinking that I was going to fix something. I'm dealing with school and the fact that the school system here sucks. Because the superintendent was like, well, I can't force them to allow your child to go to their school. What do you mean you can't? You're the superintendent. They listen to you. I can't force them to accept your child. The truancy officer told me to just, drop her off at the schoolhouse and let her continue. And I said, what happens when the social worker comes? I don't know. We were done. We were done. We were down to transportation. Um and no, by any means I tried calling the loan company and they said it's too late. They was like it's too late to pay the loan. So, yeah, your vehicle is going to be gone by 10 a.m. tomorrow. It it's too late. Um so on top of being down a vehicle and I had enough to pay the loan, but I didn't have enough to buy a new car by the next day. So it was like, yeah. So we were down a car, like I was saying. We were in a house where, you know, the house is basically falling apart because, like I said, in between all this, we were trying to fix it, and then the house roof started leaking. Like, in where I slept, where the kids were in the living room, and yeah, in the back, in the laundry room. The roof were leaking, the floors were sinking in, and yes, we tried to fix all of this. Like I said, we got wood for the floors. We were trying to price how much was the shingles, but the most important part to me and my husband was to simply fix the hot water. That would be the first thing. You doing all these repairs, you want to make sure that you have hot water to clean up after all of this renovation. No, we were told no. I lived like that, so there's nothing wrong with you living like that. And he honestly told us that when we told him that that's against CPS regulations, he told us they can't tell you how your kids can live. Are you not from America? Do you live in another country? They can tell you how your kids live. They can tell you how your kids are supposed to dress. They could tell you how your fucking kids are supposed to think. Welcome to America. You do not have rights to your kids in America. You do not tell them how your kids should live. Well, I did it when I was growing up. Yeah, that's when they didn't have inside plumbing. People were still pooping in a hole outside. Um, CPS really wasn't a thing back then unless you got like visible bruises or your bones was sinking. Like it wasn't a thing for people to just call you a neglectful parent just because your kids come to school dirty and misunderstood. Nowadays, Yeah, your kids go to school dirty or wearing hand me downs too many times, you get CPS called on you. That's society nowadays. But anyways, so we were done. We was like, okay, you want to live like this, you want to live out of a teapot and in a house that's falling apart. That's on you. We cannot do it because yes, we have children. You are so right. You don't have any young children. We have young children, so we need to leave. But now everybody in the family is like, "Hey, why'd y'all leave?" It's crazy. It's the craziest thing. Um, and mind you, people knew. People knew. People still know. Okay, because he's still living like that. People know. Um, yeah. But that was why we left South Carolina. Now we live here, and my kids are homeschooled, so my daughter does not have to worry about being bullied. My son is homeschooled. Um, my oldest daughter is homeschooled. She wanted to be homeschooled. There was no problem with her high school. She just wanted to be homeschooled. Now she want to go back to school because she's like, homeschooling is hard. Newsflash. So she wants to go back to school. But yeah, that is why we are here. And like I said, everything is normal here. My husband goes to work every day. I homeschool them every day. Um, my son still does his speech. And honestly, I'm also happy because that was another thing. They wouldn't start his IEP there. They would not start his, if you know about autism and kids with autism, they have to have what's called an individualized education plan. And this is to set goals for teachers as well as the student so that they know where he's supposed to be in his educational plan, his schooling. They would not set one. They simply was like, we're not gonna set one. If you want to get outside services outside the school, and I'm like, it's supposed to be both ways. You get services outside of school, counseling, and um, he also sees the social worker, speech therapy outside of school, but you also get like he gets in school he gets 50% less work than everybody else. He gets more time on tests. He gets more help on tests. So they can really make sure that he understands because he learns different. It doesn't mean that my kid is slow or stupid. He just learns different. So they wouldn't do it. So they told me that it was my fault. Yeah, that was one of the CPS allegations. That's what they call 'em. That was one of the allegations that was in my CPS case that I was refusing to get my son help. Yeah, it was closed because he had a outside counselor. He was medically diagnosed. He was also taking medication. Yeah. that was closed. But I was so done with South Carolina, and my husband was so done with South Carolina. Not all that aside, I mean, the school stuff we could have really worked out if we really would have pushed the envelope. But and to tell you the truth, I had started him on an IEP. Like I went to the superintendent's office and spoke to the head of special education and everything. But the real problem was the living conditions. Like you cannot live like that. Um and be like it was messing with our mental. Like it's mentally draining to live like that. Um Not having proper hygienic stuff because you can't always put on a teapot. You can't always make sure everybody waits their turn for a teapot. It was literally that's what it was. And you're talking about someone had to go out and above. We had to pay for hotels because nobody can wait. We have 5 children on top of us trying to take a bath with a little bitty fucking teapot. We pay for hotels. That's expensive. We used to pay, my husband used to get paid like maybe $1,000 a week. We would pay like $400 or $500 just for a hotel for 3 or 4 of those nights. That was getting expensive. And then on top of that, we paid like $200 for a brand new water heater. Brand new. Because he wanted an energy efficient water heater. So he didn't really want a big water heater. He said, okay, so we got the little water heater. It was still a water heater. He threw it in the back room and said, oh, I'm not putting it up. We wanted a $500 water heater. That's what we wanted. We wanted a big water heater so everybody, could take hot showers and it made sense. We priced the septic to get fixed. All he needed was a new, I think it's called a lining or something, new lines for the septic tank to make sure it didn't overflow. He also needed a new septic tank because he literally had a box in the ground. We priced it at $10,000. That was our taxes. We were ready to pay it. Nope. I don't want you, when it came down to our taxes coming, this was the literal statement. I don't want you to pay for the septic tank. I want you to pay for you and your family to leave. And then when we left, we got, why'd you leave? I didn't tell you to leave. What? The big thing here that I'm not saying, if y'all questioning in the back of your mind, all right. So like I was saying, yeah, that was the big thing was um that he doesn't want me and my husband together. That's the big thing. So he did all these little things like make my husband believe that he wanted a house fixed. Um so that he could try to separate us. He literally didn't want the house to get fixed so that we could get the kids taken so that we'll separate. Talking about devious. Yeah. So we instead chose each other, and we chose our family and we moved away. But that's the real reason why we left South Carolina. If anybody wanted to know what was, the big jump, why couldn't we stay? Um, whatever happened to the renovations, whatever happened to fixing this house that my husband will inherit, That's what happened. Like I said, for anybody that watches this later on, for any family members that watch this later on, I have approval from my husband because he said um he's tired of people asking him why he left, acting as if they don't know why he left, acting as if everything was like hunky dory and it was on us. Um, yeah. And people asked us to like, why didn't we just force feed my father in law? My husband doesn't want to do that. He's like, my dad is literally, you know, 65 or 68 years old. I'm his junior. Like, he should be able to man up and say, hey, let's get this done for my grandchildren. So he didn't want to do that. He didn't feel like he had to force his own parent to do something. And then he would just get more strife. To be honest, he would. He would just get more strife for forcing his father to do something in his house um that was against his will. They would have told him, "Well, you should have just left." So that's what he did. So, yeah. Anyway, make sure you like this this video when you go back and watch it. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.